Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to Babel on Talmud. Today we're learning Daf Samach Daled of Masechta Shabbos. I'll do kind of like a quick, somewhat inadequate overview of the page, just because it's a great Daf. It's a great Daf. There's some really cool stuff here. You got a hot cup. It's not an easy Daf, so you got to focus. But it's also not like a clear cut daf that you can kind of like say, okay, there's this machlokas and this sugya and these are these opinions. Anyways, so we're going to start off with what we ended with yesterday, talking about sackcloth versus fabrics. And then we're going to compare tumas meis and tumas sheretz. I know, everybody's favorite topics. Along the line, we're going to get into Gezer Shabbos, which is interesting, just learning about like the mechanisms of Gezer Shabbos. We're going to get into a new Mishnah, and Daf Samach Daled Amud Beis, and more of like things that you can go out to with Rosh Hashanah and things like that. So, well, let's just get into it, I think. Weiter, friends. Okay, so the very top line of Samach Daled Amud Aleph, Musaf Sak al Abeget Tamei Mishum Arig. So, the laws of Tumah of sackcloth are more sort of stringent than that of just regular old fabrics, and because they are tameh, sackcloth can become tameh even just for being woven. What does that mean? Aren't fabrics also woven? Well, that's what the Gemara asks. Atu beged lav arighu. 1 second. Is a just regular old fabric, is it not woven? That we have to say that like sackcloth is like more strict because it's tameh even when it's woven? Like what's going on here? So this is what it means. Musaf sak ala beged, that sackcloth is more chamor in its tumah than regular fabric. Afal pisha eno arig tameh. That is what it means. That sackcloth, even if it is not woven, it can be tameh. Well, if it's not woven, then what is it fit for, right? Of course, in order for something to be tameh, it has to be fit for some kind of a use. So the mai chazi, what's it fit for? So I'm Rabbi Yochanan, sheken ani kolea shalosh nimin v'sole b'tzavar bito. Oh, if you have a person who's very poor and he wants to make jewelry for his daughter and he can't really afford much, and he has a few threads that are made out of goat hair. Sackcloth is made out of goat hair, and he has a few threads of goat hair, and he just kind of like braids them into some kind of something that he could give to his daughter as a necklace. So in that case, it's not woven per se, but it's considered woven enough that it would be makabel tuma, in that he would make it into a kli for his daughter as like a necklace. That is what makes sackcloth more strict than regular fabrics when it comes to tumah, in that, it can be tameh even if it's not properly woven. Let's go weiter, friends. Taner Rabbanan. Here we go. Everybody ready? You want to take another second? Okay, now you're ready. Taner Rabbanan. The rabbis taught, sak, in the other sak. Nu, by tumas sheretz. Okay, when a dead little sheretz falls onto, we're saying sackcloth over here. Okay, that sackcloth will become tameh. It will be, right, so a dead sheretz is an avatuma. The sackcloth will become a rishon l'tumah, and it will be tameh until the evening. Okay, the next day already it can be tar. Sak, ainli ala sak. So all I know is something made out of sackcloth, i.e. something made out of goat hair. Minayin the rabbos is a klili v'sachabak. How do I know to even include reins and saddle bands, the reins of a horse, and these like straps that you would tie under the belly of the horse to secure the saddle? So how do I know that if a dead sheretz falls on these items as well, that they would be tameh? Talmud lomar o sak. That's why it says or a sak. The o is coming to include reins and saddle bands. Is it possible that I will also include in tumas sheretz ropes and measuring cords? Okay, I guess these different ropes made out of goat hair, that they weren't properly spun into threads and woven properly. I guess they were probably just somehow, I don't know how they would construct these ropes, but they weren't both spun and woven. Okay, so would I include these in tumas sheretz? So Talmud Lomar sak. Therefore, it says no. Sackcloth. Masak tavi v'arig. I've called tavi v'arig. Period. Just like sackcloth is, the threads are spun and then they are woven into the sackcloth. So in order for something to be able to become tameh from a sheretz, for being sackcloth, it would have to be both. The threads would have to be spun and then woven into the item, which is not the case by chavalim and meshichos, and that is why they would not be subject to tumas sheretz. Cool. Okay. We're all good, right? Tumas sheretz, when it comes to sackcloth, it includes not just sackcloth, but also reins and saddle bands, but it excludes ropes and measuring cords because those are not spun and woven. Weiter. Next. Hareyu Omer b'meis. Now we're going to get into tumas meis we're going to be jumping back between tumas sheretz and tumas meis now for a little bit. So v'chol kli or v'chol ma'aseh izin v'gomer. So it says by tumas hameis, it says any vessel that's made out of hide, and also anything that is made out of goats. I assume that means goat hair. Tischato, you have to sort of sprinkle in mechatas, efer paraduma water, in order to make it tahor. Okay. Lirabos akilkli v'sachabak. Okay. So when it says v'chol ma'aseh izim, when it says anything made out of goat hair by tumas hameis, so it's going to include the reins and the saddle band. Okay, fine. Yachol shani marbes achavalim v'sameshichos. Okay, what about by tumas meis when it comes to ropes and measuring cords? Would tumas meis apply to that? If a kazayas from a dead body falls on these ropes and measuring cords, would they become tameh? Well, v'dinu. Well, let's just learn it out logically. Timeh b'sheretz v'timeh b'meis. Well, we know that sackcloth is tameh by a sheretz, and we know that it's also tameh by a meis. Ma kishetimeh b'sheretz lo timeh ela tavi v'arig. Well, just like by tumas hasheretz, we learned out from the fact that it says sak, we learned out that it must be both spun and woven. Well, afka shetimeh b'meis, let's also say that by tumas hameis, lo timeh ela tavi v'arig, that the only things that would be tameh are things that are both spun and woven, to the exclusion of chavalim and meshichos, which are not spun. Okay, fine. But the Gemara says, v'hein? Hein? Really? Did you really just do that? Right? Or do you really think that you can just say that since something is not tameh by sheretz, therefore it's also not tameh by tumas hameis? Im hekel b'tameh b'tmei sheretz shehi kala nakil b'tumas hameis shehi chamura. If we say that something is excluded, that these chavalim and meshichos are excluded from being tameh by tumas sheretz, that doesn't mean that they also won't be tameh by tumas hameis, because after all, tumas sheretz is more makil, it's more lenient than the tumah of a dead body. How come? Because the tumah of a sheretz, as I mentioned a minute ago, is only for one day. By the evening time, it's already tahor. This is as opposed to tumas hameis. Of course, we all know by now that you're tameh for 7 days. So tumas hameis is more chamur than tumas sheretz. And therefore, I could argue that even though chavalim and meshichos are not tameh when it comes to tumas sheretz, that's because tumas sheretz isn't, super duper chamur. However, by tumas hameis, which is more chamur, I might say, guess what? There are also more things that can become tameh, including the chavalim and the meshichos. Therefore, the Gemara wants to say that you can't simply say, well, there's tumah by tumas sheretz, and there's tumah by tumas hameis, so just whatever things apply to tumas sheretz, we could just blindly apply to tumas hameis. It doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that. I can make the argument that chavalim and meshichos should be tameh by tumas hameis. Okay. Talmud Lomar beged v'or l'gzera shava. Okay. So the Gemara says, you know what? We're not gonna take this naive approach and say that since chavalim and meshichos are not tameh by sheretz, it means that they're also not tummy, i.e. that they're tahoros by tumas hames. Rather, you know how we're going to learn out that they're tahoros by tumas hames? From a gzera shava. Okay, from a gzera shava. It says beged ve'or by tumas hames, and it says beged ve'or by tumas sheretz. Nemar beged ve'or b'sheretz, v'nemar beged ve'or b'mes. Okay. Ma beged ve'or amur b'sheretz lo time ela tavi ve'arig. Af beged ve'or amur b'mes lo time ela tavi ve'arig. Tavi or tavoy? Let's go with tavi. Tavi ve'arig. Fine. So it says beged ve'or by sheretz, and it says beged ve'or by mes. So now we can say that just like by sheretz, the only thing, did I say, right, it says beged ve'or by both, and therefore just like by sheretz, the only things that would be included in the tumas sheretz would be these items that are both spun and woven. So therefore, also by the tuma of mace, we're only going to include things that are spun and woven to the exclusion of chavalim and meshichos. And then the Gemara continues, Uma beged ve'or ha'amur b'meis tamei kol ma'aseh. And just like when it says beged and or by mace, so we're including anything that comes from a goat, right? Because it says, what does it say? It says v'chol ma'aseh, right? By tumas hames it says v'chol ma'aseh. So therefore it includes anything that comes from goat hair. So beged ve'or ha'amur b'sheretz tamei kol ma'aseh. Okay? So therefore when it says also beged va'or by sheretz, it's including anything that comes from goat hair, and to include kilklei and chabak, to include these reins and these saddle bands. Okay, now we're going to learn in a minute, but didn't we already learn that out from sak to include the reins and the saddle bands? We'll get there in a minute, but right now we're learning out that since we have this gezerah shava of beged va'or, so just like by tumas hames, it says kol ma'aseh izim, all things made from goats. That includes also the reins and the saddle bands. Now, ein li ela davra ba min ha'izim. Now, all I know right now is going to be things that come from goats, right? Minayin l'rabos davra ba miznava sus u'miznava para. How do I know that also when it comes to these tumas, I guess both tumas hames and tumas sheretz, that it even includes garments that are made out of, I guess, the hairs of the tail of a horse and of a tail of a cow? How do I know that these items would also be able to contract tumas hames and tumas sheretz? Well, Talmud lomar o sak. Well, it says o sak. By tumas sheretz, it says o sak, which we learned earlier to include the reins and the saddle bands, but we're now saying that it comes to include even things made out of the tail of a horse or the tail of a cow. But didn't we say that o sak, we're already using it to include the reins and the saddle bands? So yeah, but that was only before we had the gezerah shava. Before we knew about this gezerah shava, and we weren't able to learn things out from tumas hames to tumas sheretz, so we had to learn out that by tumas sheretz, the reins and the saddle bands are included from the fact that it says o sak. However, now that we do have the gezerah shava, and by tumas hames, it says kol ma'aseh izim, anything made out of goats, well then that memela includes these reins and saddle bands, and therefore we can then, through the gezerah shava, apply that as well to tumas sheretz. So I don't need o sak to teach me the reins and the saddle bands anymore. So what do I learn out from o sak? I learn out that by sheretz, anything made from the tail of a horse or the tail of a cow can also contract tumas sheretz. So now hashta de'asi gezerah shava aisur lei. Great. So now that we have the gezerah shava, so then o sak is extra, and we can learn out things, garments made out of horse tail and cow tail. Now, o sak is written by sheretz. How do I know that garments made out of cow tail or horse tail would also be tamei from tumas hames? Vidinu, well, first we try to take the logic route. Timei b'meis v'timei b'sheretz. Well, there's tumas hametz and there's tumas hasheretz. Makshe timei b'sheretz. Just like when we have tumas hasheretz. Also davar abba miznav asus miznav apar k'maisei izim. So just like by tumas hasheretz, we say that something that comes from the tail of a horse or from the tail of a cow, we make it just like things that come from goat hair, and we say that it is able to become tamei. So af gishetime b'meis also davar abab miznav asus miznav apar k'maisei izim. So also we'll say that by tumas hameis, anything that comes from the hair from the tail of a horse or the tail of a cow will be able to become tamei, just like things that come from the hair of a goat. Okay, but one second, Hain, can you really just make that logical deduction or deduction, logical thing? Im hirba betumas erev shei meruba naiber betumas shiva shei mu'etes. But the Gemara doesn't want to allow you to do that either, right? Before we had said that, we couldn't just learn out, something that, a kula, right? We couldn't just exclude these ropes and measuring cords, from tumas hames, because we said tumas hames is more machmir, right? And therefore maybe it's included. Over here, I would think to say, well, if we're being more machmir when it comes to tumas sheretz, to say that even things that come from the tails of horses and cows would also be able to contract tumas sheretz, well then certainly it should apply to tumas hames as well, right? Because tumas hames we said was more chamer because it's tummy for 7 days. So interestingly, the Gemara is actually saying it's actually not so simple. Because while sure, the actual tumah of a sheretz might not be as machmir as the tumah of a mace, in that tumah of a sheretz is 1 day versus tumah of the mace is 7 days. However, tumas sheretz is more inclusive. Kilu, there are more things that you can become tamei for 1 day for, right? Rashi gives a whole list of them. For example, if like a sheretz falls on something, it becomes tamei for 1 day. If a nevela, right, a carcass of an animal that wasn't shechted, falls on something, becomes tamei for 1 day. If shichva zera, right, sperm gets on something, or if a zav touches something, or if somebody who's tamei from a mace, right, there's all sorts of things that can make something tamei for 1 day. As opposed to tumas hames, there's really only one thing that can make you tamei tumas hames, and therefore, if when it comes to tumas sheretz, which is basically tumah of 1 day, which is something that's much more inclusive, and we're saying that it also includes something that is made out of horsetail or cowtail, well, it makes sense to include it there because we're generally more inclusive when it comes to tumah of 1 day. I wouldn't necessarily therefore say that also when it comes to tumas hames, which is tumah of 7 days, which there's really only one thing that can become a tamei for 7 days, I wouldn't necessarily say that it also comes to, it also applies to things made out of horsetail or cowtail. So Talmud Lomar, Beged V'or, L'Gzera Shava. So we fall back on our Gzera Shava. Nemar Beged V'or B'Sheretz, V'nemar Beged V'or B'Meis. Right? It says Beged V'or by Sheretz as well as by Meis. Ma Beged V'or Amar B'Sheretz, also Davar Abba Miznav Asus, Miznav Apara, K'maisei Izim. Just like just like when it comes to sheretz, we include garments made out of horsetail and cowtail. So beged v'ora amur b'meis also davar abba miznav asus u'miznav apara k'maisei izim. We also make things that come from the tail of a horse or the tail of a cow, like things that come from the hair of a goat, i.e., and say that they are tamei as well, because of this gezerah shava. And then the Gemara says, mufna. What does that mean? It means that when it says beged and or, okay, right? Our gezerah shava here is the fact that it says beged ve'or by tumas hames, and it says beged ve'or by tumas hasheretz, okay? And we're going to use it for a gezerah shava. Now, there's something called a gezerah shava mufne, an available gezerah shava. What this means is that really, you didn't, right, beged and or by both tumas hames and by tumas hasheretz is extra. We already know that tumas hames and tumas sheretz would apply to beged and or. The Torah didn't need to write beged and or. Therefore, beged and or in both cases are extra, and because they're extra, we can use it for our gezerah shava. Okay? That's what mufna means. So now, umufna. So we're saying that beged and or, both by sheretz and by mace, are available. They didn't need to be written, and the fact that they're there, it makes them available for this gezerah shava, so that we can learn out the halachos of one from the other and vice versa. The ilav mufne, because if this was not a gezerah shava mufne, if these words were not available for the gezerah shava, well, then you would be able to ask logical questions against the gezerah shava, right? Then it would just be a simply like a mematzinu kind of thing, like, well, we find this over here and we find that over there, let's just like compare these halachas, but then you can ask questions. You can say, meaning, let's say this was not a Gzeir Shava Mufne. Let's say this was not a Gzeir Shava, and as Rashi points out, he says, right, I'm in the Rashi, Dibra Maskal Mufne, towards the bottom, it says, now that these words are available to be able to learn how to Gzeir Shava, well, it's as if the Pasuk said what we're learning from it explicitly, and you can't ask any questions. That is when you have a Gezerah Shava that is mufne, that the words are available for the Gezerah Shava. Then it's set in stone, there's no asking any questions. But if the Gezerah Shava is not mufne, right, and we actually need, let's say, beged and or to teach me that Tumas Sheretz and Tumas Mace applies to beged and or, I wouldn't have known that otherwise, well, then all of a sudden, this Gezerah Shava is not untouchable. And you can start asking all sorts of questions when we then try to, so in our case, we learn out from the Gezerah Shava that just like by Tumas Sheretz, okay, the Tumah would apply to garments made out of horsetail and cowtail, okay? So we wanted to say that because of the Gezerah Shava, we can apply that to Tumas HaMeis as well. But if this was not a Gezerah Shava Mufne, we'd be able to ask the following question. Sheretz Tumas Sheretz is actually more chamur than Tumas HaMeis. How come? Because Tumas Sheretz, a Sheretz is already, a dead Sheretz can be metame even if it's just the size of a lentil. Whereas Tumas HaMeis is only metame when it has a kazayas of the flesh of a mace, which makes Tumas Sheretz more chamur. And therefore I can understand why by Tumas HaSheretz it applies to also things made out of cowtails and horsetails. But I wouldn't necessarily apply that to Tumas HaMeis, which is more makil in that it only becomes tameh when you have a kazayas of flesh that falls on something. So the Gemara says, le'i. He says, yes, it is in fact a Gzeir Shava Mufne, and therefore we don't ask any questions. Afnuye Mufne. So now the Gemara says, okay, let's see. Michti. Sheretz is kash l'shichva zera. So we know that Tumas Sheretz is compared to the Tumah of Shichvas Zera. Dichsiv, as the pasuk says, Ish asher teitzi mimenu shichva zara. A man who seed comes out of him. V'samachle, and it says right after that, Ish asher yiga b'chol sheretz. Anybody who touches a sheretz. Okay, so we see that Tumas Sheretz and Tumas Shichva Zera are juxtaposed. Uchsiv b'shichva zera, and it says by shichva zera, v'chol beged v'chol or asher yiyah olav shichvas zara. And it says by shichva zera that it says beged and or. So therefore, beged v'or dechasav rachmana b'sheretz lamali. So then why do I need it to say beged and or by sheretz if it already said it by shichva zera, and we know that we compare shichva zera and sheretz. So shmamina le'afnuye. So it must be that the reason why it says beged and or by sheretz, even though it doesn't need to, is to make them available for Gzeir Shava. Vakati mufna mitzad. The Gemara says, but still, it's only available. Fine. So you've just showed me that beged and or are available by sheretz. But what about by Tumas HaMeis? So sure, one side of the Gzeir Shava, sheretz, you have beged and or available, but by mace, when it says beged and or, you need it to teach me that Tumas HaMeis applies to beged and or. So you only have these words available on one side of the Gzeir Shava equation. So hanicha lemanda amar mufne mitzad echad lemeidin vein meshivin. Okay, well, if you hold that when you have a Gzeir Shava, that only one side of the Gzeir Shava, the words are available, but the other side, they're needed to teach, what they're coming to teach. In our case, that beged and or would become tameh. So if you hold that, well, all you need is for one side of the equation to be available, and once one side of the equation is available, you can't challenge this Gezeira Shava, well then great. Okay, so we have Beged and Or by Sheretz available, and that's enough. But if you say that when you have a Gezeira Shava that is only available from one side of it, you can ask questions and you can challenge it, well then, Ma'ika Lemema, what are you going to say? Because we'll challenge it by saying that Sheretz is more Machmir in that it's Mitami B'chadasha. So my answer is, Demeis Nami Afnuye Mufne, don't worry, Beged and Or by Tumas Hames is also available. It didn't need to be written. We would know it already. Michdei Meis Iskash L'Shichva Zera. A Tumas Hames is also compared to Tuma of Shichva Zera. The Chsiv, as the pasuk says, Vanogea B'chol Tmei Nefesh. Anybody who touches somebody who is tamei from a dead body, or isha sheteitzim mimenu shichva zara, or anybody whose seed comes out of him, uchsiv b'shichva zera v'chol beged v'chol or, and we know that by shichva zera it says beged and or, and if we compare tumas hameis to shichva zera, so then we already know that beged and or are tamei b'tumas hameis, beged v'or d'chsiv rachmana b'meis lamali shmamina lafnuye. How come it says Beged and Or by Tumas HaMeis? If we already know it from Shichva Zera, it must be to make it available for Gezeira Shava. So we see that Beged and Or by both Tumas Sheretz and Tumas HaMeis are available. That's why we can make our Gezeira Shava. Wow. How did you guys enjoy that? If you kind of stick with it and focus, I think you can get it. You got a lot we got to hold in our little brains of ours, but if we manage to stay focused, I think it's doable. What do you guys think? Doable? Hopefully. Friends, let's move on. Vanakrev es korban Hashem. So the Bnei Yisrael said, and we offered the offering of God. This was after the war against Midian, and they got all sorts of spoils. And it says, and we offered them to God. Ish asher matza klizav. Anybody who found things made out of gold, etzada, chains, epis, vitzamid, bracelets, tabas, rings, ogil v'chumaz. What's ogil v'chumaz? Amr Belazar, ogil zetfus shel dadin. Okay, so Reb Elazar says it was some kind of I don't think it was a garment. I would imagine it's kind of more some kind of ornament, I guess, that women would use to cover their breasts with. That is what agil was, some kind of mold of sorts that they would put over their chest. Kumaz ze d'fus shel beis harechem, and kumaz was, it came up in brachos also, either some kind of like chastity belt or something, some kind of mold that women would use to cover their private parts. Okay. Rav Yosef iachi anu d'mtargiminan machuch. So Rav Yosef says, and this is what we translate as machuch, right? The Aramaic translation of kumaz is machuch. Davar mevi legichuch, lidegichuch, something that brings you towards leitzanus, licentiousness, or just lightheadedness. Okay. Amar Rabba, says Rabba, migufe dekrash mamina. We can actually learn out what a kumaz is from just the word kumaz. Kumaz kan makom zima. This is the place of zima. I don't know exactly, lewdness, I think it was defined, but it definitely has sexual implications. Okay, so these are the agil and kumaz. Vayiksof Moshe al pikudei achayil, and Moshe got angry at the soldiers. Amar Rav Nachman, said Rav Nachman, Amar Rabba bar Avua, Amar lo en Moshe l'Yisrael, Moshe said to Israel, Shema chazartem l'kilkuchem harishon, maybe you went back to your initial bad ways, as Rashi points out, right? L'kulkulchem shomais shitim liznos as benos Moab, just like at Shittim when they had issues with mingling a little too much with the girls of Moab. So Amrulo, they said to Moshe, Lo nifkad mimenu ish. No, there's nobody missing, meaning everybody, nobody did any averas during the fight with Midian. Amrulo kim kapara lama. So Moshe said, yeah, well, if you didn't do anything wrong, well then how come you need to have this kapara of this korban to God? So Amrulo, so they said to Moshe, Mide aver yatzainu, mide hirhu lo yatzainu. He said, well, we may not have committed any averas, but we may have thought to maybe commit some averas. Miyad vanakreves korban Hashem, and that is why we offered this offering to God. How come the Israelites in that generation required an atonement? So because they were looking at arayos, at I guess what they shouldn't have been looking at. So even though they didn't commit any averas, but they were kind of looking at averas, observing averas, and they probably should not have. We add this is a Gemara in Brachos. How come this pasuk is listing, external jewelry with internal, hidden jewelry, right? You have, rings and bracelets on the one hand, and you have these, what were these things? These ogil and chumas on the other hand, which would be worn under the clothing. That anybody who looks at even the small finger of a woman, something that is exposed, something that's on the outside, it's ki'ilu. He looks at her private parts, which are, obviously covered up. Okay. Yotza Isha, new Mishnah. Yotza Isha b'chutei seyar. Okay, so the Mishnah says that a woman is allowed to go out with threads that are made out of hair. Now there are going to be a lot of kind of similarities almost to the first Mishnah of the Perek, right? Right. For example, the Perek started off with Bamei Sheyosef May no Yotza Lo Seitze Ish Lo B'chutei Tzema V'Lo B'chutei Pishtan. Right? She doesn't go out with threads that are made out of wool or of linen. And over here we're saying, but she is allowed to go out with threads made out of hair. And we actually on that daf on Nun Zayin Amud Aleph, I believe, we explained why she would be allowed to go out with these threads made out of hair, because they don't attach to, when you wrap them around your hair, they don't get stuck in very well and the water can get through. Therefore, we're not concerned that she's going to have to take them off and carry them in Rosh Hashanah if she has to go to the mikveh. Okay? Although the Gemara, I think, actually seems to imply that maybe she'll show them to her friend, but let's get there in a minute. So, Yotza Isha b'chutei seyar, a woman is allowed to go out with threads made out of hair, bein mishala, bein mishal chaverto, whether these threads are made of her own hair, or whether these threads are made out of her friend's hair, bein mishal behema, or whether these threads are made out of her animal's hair. Uv totefes, uv sarvitin, okay, you might remember these inyanim, right? Totefes is like some kind of jewelry that she would wear across her forehead. Uv sarvitin, these are some kind of jewelry that would like go down towards her cheek. Bisman shein tfurin, as long as they are sewed into her hat, because then she won't take them off to show anybody because they're sewn in. B'chavul. Now, interestingly, we've had so many definitions of kavul. So first of all, kavul was this machlokas about if it's the kavla da'avda, if it was like this like pennant or something, this like thing that slaves would wear, or if it was some kind of cloth that she would put under her like hairnet. But we also had right, it said, we had biris tahor v'yotzim ba b'Shabbos, kivalim tmeim ve'en yotzim ba b'Shabbos. So we had kivalim. We also had like, what did we had? Kovlos also or something. So we had kivalim. We also had these, what were kovlos? Oh, koveles. Koveles was this like thing that you would put like the balsam roots in. Then we have these, and then we had these, and then we had kivalim, which were like those garters. And now we have kavul, which is so Rashi says that over here it means that fabric that she would put under her like band or head net or hair net or something. So yeah, I don't know. There's like this kaf bet lamed thing which is used for like all sorts of stuff. Okay, let's go weiter. Right, so she can go out with this like a garment under her hairnet or with a wig into her chatzer. So even though she's not allowed to go out with them to Rosh Hashanah, but she can go out with them to her chatzer, which is Rosh Hashanah. B'moch sheba'ozna, she can go out with some kind of cloth in her ear. Let's say she has something going on in her ear and she needs to absorb whatever is happening there. Uv'moch shebasandala, she could put some kind of cloth in her shoe if she needs to for whatever reason. Or if she's a nida and she's saying dam nida, some kind of like cloth or pad to absorb the dam nida. Bepilpel, she can go out. Apparently, if she has like bad breath or something, she could have some kind of pepper. I don't know, is that like a hot pepper? I don't know, something she would kind of put in her mouth to deal with the bad breath. Uvugagal melach, she can also put some salt, I don't know, a bit of salt in her mouth if she's having like some teeth issues or something. Maybe she has a toothache. V'chol shenitan lesoch pia, and anything that she might want to put in her mouth, that would be acceptable, as long as she does it before Shabbos. But don't do it on Shabbos. Okay. And if it falls out of her mouth, she then shouldn't put it back into her mouth. Shein toseves, shein shalzav. So I think that there are two ways of understanding this. Either it's meaning that shein toteves is a shein shalzav, meaning some kind of golden tooth. If her tooth fell out and was replaced with like a golden tooth, or it could be that toteves is like, I guess like somebody else's tooth. Sounds gross, right? But I think like if somebody lost a tooth, maybe they would take somebody else's and like give it to this person, something like that. So Rebbe says it's okay, you can go out with them to Rishus Harabim. The Chachamim say it's not allowed because they're concerned that you might take it out if like somebody laughs at you or something. Okay? Utzricha. So the Mishnah started off by saying that a woman can go out with these like threads that are made out of her hair, out of her friend's hair, or out of her animal's hair. So we need all three examples. So I might think that, okay, yeah, she can go out with like threads of hair if it's her own hair, meaning she's taking these threads and like wrapping them to hold her hair in place or something. So that would make sense if it's her own hair, because it's not disgusting to her to wear her own hair. But wearing her friend's hair might be like a little weird. And then, Rashi points out that maybe people might, laugh at her or something if it's her friend's hair, and she might take it out. Okay? And then she'll carry it, and that's a problem. So therefore the Mishnah says, no, she can even go out with her friend's hair. And if it said, okay, fine, she can go out with her friend and her friend's hair, so devas minahu, I would think, yeah, well, because it's both human hair at the end of the day. Avad behema lav bar minahu, but animal hair is animal hair, it's not human hair. So maybe we are concerned that people will notice and maybe laugh at her, and then she'll take it out of her hair. So, emalo, tzricha. So we have to say that, no, you can even go out with threads made out of animal hair. Okay? Tana. Okay, we learn in a brisa that a young woman should not go out with the threads made out of a hair of an older woman. And an older woman should not go out with these threads of hair that came from a younger woman. Okay? I understand why an older woman should not go out with the hair of a younger woman, right? Rashi points out that the assumption is that an older woman would have gray hair and a younger woman would have black hair. So I understand why the older woman would not be allowed to go out with the hair belonging to the younger woman, because shevach hula, because it's very, beautiful for her to have this younger woman's hair, and and you might take it off and show it off to your friends, and therefore you were concerned about carrying. But what's the issue with a younger woman going out with threads made out of the hair of an older woman? It's not nice for her, and she's not going to show it off, and she's not going to take it off to show people. So the Gemara answers, interesting. So, well, because it already said that we're not going to have an older woman going out with the threads of a hair of a younger woman, so it also taught a younger woman shouldn't go out with the threads of the hair of an older woman, even though we're not really concerned that she's going to take it off and show her friends. So the Mishnah says, so we say that a woman should not go out with this, cloth under her hairnet or something, and this wig. So she's allowed to go out to her chatzer. She's not allowed to go out to her Rishus Harabim, but she's allowed to go out to her chatzer. Amar Rav, anything that the Chachamim said that it would be usher to go out to the public domain with, well, you're also not allowed to go out to your courtyard with them. The only exception being what it says in our Mishnah, that this kavul and this wig from a Gentile, you would be allowed to go out to your chatzer with them. Rabbi Anani bar Sason, that's a name we don't see too often. He says, Mishmei Yishma Rab Yossi, Omar, Hakol Kichavul. No, it's all like the kavul. Just like the kavul, and also this peah, nachris, that you're allowed to go out to the chatzar. Well, also anything that the Mishnah had said not to go out to Rosh Hashanah with, you would be allowed to go out into your chatzar. For example, threads made out of wool or linen, that we say that don't go out to Rosh Hashanah with them, you would be allowed to go out to your chatzar. Rav would argue and say, no, you would not. Only the kavul and the peah nachris, you would be allowed to go to the chatzar. Now, the Gemara asks, Tnan, b'chavul v'peah nachris l'chatzar. Well, our Mishnah says that specifically a kavul and a peah nachris you can wear in the chatzar. Doesn't that imply that outside of the chatzar, right, that only these things you can wear in the chatzar, but none of the other things? So Bishlam Rav Nicha, I understand Rav, who says exactly that only the koveles and the peah nachris are allowed in the chatzar. All these other things would not be allowed in the chatzar. El Rabbi Anani bar Sason kasha. But for Rabbi Anani bar Sason, how does he make any sense of the Mishnah? After all, according to him, anything can go out and you can go out with into the chatzar. So Rabbi Anani bar Sason mishmei deman kamerle. So the Gemara says, 1 second, people. If you're paying attention, who's Rabbi Anani bar Sason quoting? Mishmei de Rabbi Yishma Rab Yossi. He's quoting Rabbi Yishma Rab Yossi. Now Rabbi Yishma Rab Yossi Tana ufalig. Rabbi Yishma Rab Yossi is a Tana. He's allowed to argue on our Mishnah. So sure, while our Mishnah seems to be implying, or seems to be saying that specifically a kovel, a kavul, and a peah nachris, you'd be allowed to go out to chatzar, but any of these other things that you're not allowed to go out to Rosh Hashanah, you would also not be allowed to go into the chatzar. However, Rabbi Yishma Rab Yossi argues, and he says that any of these things that you're not allowed to go out to Rosh Hashanah with, you can, however, go out into your chatzar with. V'Rav Maishna Hani. Okay, fine. Now, according to Rav, what's unique about these two things? What's unique about this kavul and this peah nachris that you'd be allowed to go out to a chatzar with? Omar Ula kadesh lo tiskana al baila. So Ula says, because we don't want a woman to be disgusting to her husband. What does that mean? Meaning, we don't want to say that, every single thing on Shabbos you're not allowed to wear, right? A woman wants to dress a certain way, whether for herself to, everybody wants to look presentable and look good, right? So if basically we have all of these things that maybe you can't go out to Rosh Hashanah with them because it might be considered carrying, but, even just in your own domain, you wouldn't be able to wear it. I mean, people want to look presentable to each other and, so therefore, Ula says, we don't want to just make everything usher, and then like on Shabbos, people aren't like allowed to wear things that make themselves look good. So therefore we allow this woman to wear this kavul and this wig, even though she can't wear them to Rosh Hashanah, but she can wear them around her own private domain. Keditanya, we're learning a brayso of Adava ben Idasa, right? The pasuk says, in talking about a nida, Zikenim arishonim amru shlo takcho v'lo safkos, that a nida should not be putting like eyeliner into her eyes, v'lo safkos, and not, I don't know, I think like blush or something. I'll tell you honestly, I'm not like a big makeup expert, but v'lo tiskashet b'vigdei tziv'onin, and she shouldn't wear like all sorts of like colorful clothes. Like basically, the early rabbis would basically say that when a woman is a nida, she like can't do anything that would hint at like trying to dress up or look good, right? Until Rabbi Akiva came and he taught, if so, that every single time that this woman is a nida, she like, has to basically be like, unpresentable, right? She can't do anything to like look nice. Well then that's going to be like too often. Like, a big part of their relationship is going to be with like, this woman not being able to like make herself presentable. And it's going to sort of fray the relationship and it's going to end in divorce. So Ella Matamu Lomar Vadava Benidasa. So then what do you learn out? So Rabbi Kiva, what do you learn out about Vadava Benidasa? Doesn't that imply that like she has to be kind of, forlorn or, So Benidasa Tehe Achetavo B'mayim. It means that she needs to remain a nida and have tumas nida until she goes to the mikvah. Meaning, even if she's no longer a nida, she's not seeing any dam nida anymore, but she still has the tuma of nida until she goes to the mikvah. That's what it means. But while she's a nida, she can put on makeup. She can put on whatever clothes she wants to put on. Okay. Amrav Yehuda Amarav, said Rav Yehuda in the name of Rav, Kol makom sha'asu chachamim mipnei maris ha'ayin afil b'chadrei chadarim aser. So Rav Yehuda says in the name of Rav that whenever the chachamim say that, don't do such and such a thing because we don't want the yentas to see and draw false conclusions, right? So then even when you are in private and there's no yentas to see, you're still not allowed to do it. Fine. But Tanan, one second, we have a Mishnah that says, V'lo b'zug alfa pisha pakuk. One second, we say that a zug, right? You can't go out with a zug on Shabbos, right? An animal can't go out with a bell on Shabbos, even if it's like, you put cloth in there so it won't make any noise. But we say because it looks like you're taking it to the market. It looks like you're going to take it to the market. Vitani alam, we talked about it. Pokek la zug b'tzavaru mataya lima b'chatzer. However, you would be allowed to plug up the bell and have the animal in your chutzner. That's no problem. So what about maris ha'ayin? Right? If what Rav is saying is correct, that whenever the chacham say don't do something because maris ha'ayin, so you can't even do it in your own private domain. Well, what about this bell that we say don't take out your animal in public with the bell because it looks like you're going to the market, but in your chutzner it's okay. So Tanai, so we say the Ma'aseh is Machlokas Tanaim D'Tanis. We learn in the Brayso Sholchem B'Chama Havalo Keneged Ha'am Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon Osren. Right, that if somebody's clothing got wet in the rain, so we say you're allowed to dry them out. So the Tanna Kama says no problem. You can dry them out in your chatzer as long as nobody sees. Whereas Rabbi Elazar and Reb Shimon say no, you're not allowed to because we have to be concerned about Maris Ha'ayin. So Rav would say like Rabbi Elazar and Reb Shimon. Whereas this other Brayso, which says that you would be allowed to have your animal with the bell in your chutzner, would be like this Tanna Kama who says you can dry your clothing as long as it's not facing people who might think that you washed your clothing on Shabbos. Okay, that was Daf Samach Daled. Yeah, it was like an okay daf, right? Like a little complicated, but doable, not too crazy. In any event, let's do like a quick recap. I don't have like an amazing recap because it wasn't such a structured daf, but anyways, we started off with sackcloth versus fabric, and we said that sackcloth is a little bit more stringent than regular fabric, and that even if it is not properly woven, it can still be makabel tumah. We then compared like sackcloth when it comes to tumas ames versus tumas sheretz, and we say that ultimately we brought this gezerah shava to be able to like transfer halachos between the two. We also learned that in order for a gezerah shava to be really strong and unquestionable, it has to be on both sides of the equations. The ideal would be that on both sides of the equations, the words that you're using for the gezerah shava are available and not used for any other purposes. We got into this new Mishnah about more things that a woman is allowed to go out with on Shabbos. We talked about going out with threads made from hair as well as threads made from your friend's hair or from your animal. Then at the end here we talked about when something is also because of Maris Ayin, does it also apply when you are in private? And it's a Machlokas Tanaim about if it applies or not. Alright, cool. I hope everybody enjoyed. I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.